Hello, everybody. How are we doing? How are we doing? I'll put you guys on stage while I'm thinking about it. Uh, so if you read the title, you know what's going on. Where the Clash has been moved again. The Clash has first was moved from Sunday to Monday. Now is moved to Wednesday night. I was initially gonna come on live today and just chill and have a Q&A and a little bit of fun. And then news broke, and so we had to move the stream up an hour. Plenty of stuff that if you guys want to talk about that's NASCAR, non-NASCAR, all that, or maybe Clash, non-Clash, all that. But it's Wednesday. I see some saying just cancel it. I've seen a lot of you guys saying that. Thing is, contracts, you can't cancel it at this point. Funny enough, this actually ended up being announced prematurely on the NASCAR app and NASCAR.com, having it on Wednesday. I saw people in my replies were responding to me about it. And then from there, I saw Reddit posts about it, and finally Bob had to address it. So I'm gonna move these for a moment, and here is what the schedule looks like for those attending, for those watching on TV. NWP we'll talk about in a moment. Probably still be Wednesday, but 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Parking lots open noon. Shuttle services begin. Gates open 12:30 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. Practice and qualifying for the Clash will be now at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 Eastern time for the LCQ. And then the main event will start at 6 Eastern, 5 Central time on Wednesday evening. For those wondering about NWP, we're probably just going to go live on Danny's channel right after the race ends. So unfortunately, no post-race show, but they got to get it in. And, they could try and get it in like Saturday, but then you're butting right up to when they're also going to be needing to get stuff sent out, the early stuff, at least for Daytona, you would think. And you can't call it. I see you guys saying, like, I'm seeing, like, why don't we call it? Well, contracts say you have to run it. The practice and qualifying will be on FS2 still. The LCQ and the Clash will be primetime Big Fox. They did not move it, at least from what it sounds like. I have Bob Pockers's Twitter up right now, and that's what it's looking like at this time. I haven't seen any major changes from there. I get people being upset about it, but at the same time, what else are you going to do? Right? The snowstorm comes in. North Carolina is not prepared at all. Trust me, I live right next door in Tennessee. Not prepared at all for a snowstorm. You have 100 people getting into a car crash last night because they were on the roads when they were told not to be. And yeah, they got the track ready, but if the state government isn't going to allow fans, say, to show up tomorrow or Tuesday, then at that point, I give it to NASCAR that at least they're trying to leave it open for some fans to be able to watch the race in person. They also have offered full refunds if you can't make it, or a 120% credit that's given to you to use on, I believe, just ISC tracks outside of the 500 and the finale. So I honestly think NASCAR has made the best out of a bad situation. I get it's, probably easy to rip on NASCAR on this. And I haven't looked because I'm seeing in the chat it's supposed to snow Wednesday. I mean, I'll look it up. I'm looking at what everyone's saying. Let's see. Heats have been canceled. That's true. And listen, we can talk about where to move it forward from here. I mean, I'll look up the weather in Winston-Salem daily. The thing is, there might be rain in the forecast right now, but we have rain tires. It's a short track. We should be fine. This would be the first Wednesday race, I believe, since the 2020 fiasco at Texas. And the other end too is this is probably how things would have went with the last year at the Coliseum if they had not moved it back a day to Saturday. If it had instead, they just kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. Um, so there is again, there is a lot of bad. I know it sucks. I know we wait. This is exactly the perfect NASCAR way it would go, right? We would have an entire year last season where no Truck, O'Reilly, or Cup race was moved off of its scheduled date by rain, weather, anything. And now the first one back in 2026, the hyped up season that people are like getting excited for. We've got big changes that we're happy about and other things that we were really like looking forward to. And let's get it started with the Clash, and it gets moved right away and then moved to Wednesday. I don't blame NASCAR for it, honestly. Like last year going into the Clash, a lot of people questioned Bowman Gray. It's just going to be a smaller version of the Coliseum. And for the most part, people had a lot of fun, and it ended up being a pretty good success. Now, this year, we turned it around. I don't see how you blame NASCAR for a historic snowstorm. Two, actually, if you count the one that hit before or after or whenever. There's been multiple, but a historic snowstorm hits the South, and it falls on the weekend NASCAR is racing. I don't see how you blame NASCAR on that one. And I'll be critical when I think it's a thing that should be done with NASCAR, but I don't see how that's the issue on that one. That they're the issue. I don't see that. And I think that them being willing to try and make as many concessions as possible for fans as well, whether to give them money back, which I'm telling you, being a fan of the NFL, they don't do that. At least not very much. A lot of people don't really. A lot of leagues don't do this to this extent that NASCAR does. And I would assume they probably could run it Monday, or maybe Monday's pushing it, but Tuesday, the roadways are not looking very good, and North Carolina is just not set up for snowstorms like the North is. This is total whiplash for me in the Midwest. I see that you get 7 or 8 inches of snow, and I'm like, oh, okay, so we're going to school tomorrow. But it's just so different down here. I mean, we had ice and snow in Tennessee, and it shut everything down for 3 days. I think it's better to be safer rather than sorrier. I think it's the right call, and I think that even if they could race without fans Tuesday, which is probably what could have happened, giving fans hopefully the opportunity, if things clear up enough, if they get enough cleaned up, that at least some fans can be there in person on Wednesday, I think is the right call. And I know that I think it holds like 22,000. So maybe 5,000 of them will be able to show up. Maybe some people will be able to buy tickets the day of, show up after school or work or something like that. Maybe that'll be cool for a lot of the local crowd. Maybe it'll fill up more than I'm thinking it will. After all, the Bowman Gray crowd is wild. It is the Madhouse definitely lives up to its reputation, and that even goes to the stands, contrary to what Fox Sports showed last year. But I give them that credit there too. Now moving forward, what should happen? I mean, again, I don't use it lightly when I say historic snowstorm rolls through. And I'm leaving this up, by the way, for anybody who's coming on in so you can see the schedule. If you're going to be maybe going there, maybe you have to go home and make other plans just so that you know exactly what's going on. So I'll leave this up for the time being. Now, moving forward, I know a lot of people have talked about, like, a lot of people ask this time, why can't we move to Daytona? Well, they already have set up stuff when it comes to cars, the package for the car, all of that for a short track. They have, yes, super speedway cars they're bringing down to Daytona, but to change it on a dime like that, just that quick, is unrealistic. I think it's unrealistic to expect teams to fully prep. I mean, what would they do the same format and have a bunch of heat races? Would they just do like the top 23 in owners points from the year before? It was always unrealistic that it would ever move to Daytona of all places, or if it moved at all. maybe I saw some of you guys in here saying like, oh, maybe, move it to the Rock next year. I mean, it'd be the same kind of weather no matter what. But the problem is Rockingham doesn't have lights, at least not that I've last seen. I know that was a big question last year with the Easter races. And now Easter this year has moved further back in the year. So again, this is just triaging a bad situation the best way possible. But for next year, I mean, I'm kind of fine with whatever they do, honestly. Uh, I'm okay with going back to Bowman Gray a year. I kind of like that if you're not going to go to Daytona, that the idea for the Clash being like a quarter mile bull ring and you just, rock 'em, sock 'em. It's a non-points race anyway, so who cares, right? I mean, let's have fun with it, And I am not team chaos for points racing and championships and stuff like that. And I think I've made that pretty well known. But I'm okay with chaos for Clash and All-Star race. Like I'm okay with that. So I'm fine with it staying in Bowman Gray. I don't think it's going back to LA anytime soon. The problem is weather. I mean, like we saw right now, but I mean, just in general, the problem is weather. So there's not really that many options. I know there was a rumor about it going to Sao Paulo, Brazil. I don't know if that's going to happen next year. I know that they're talking about building an oval in Brazil, so maybe that would be the international date that they would choose the Clash to go to. And they made a huge effort there. So I could see in the near future Brazil being a big option. But I'm not thinking that's going to happen next year. I mean, it's a date that ISC and NASCAR has on the schedule. And I know they've been a little more lax with those and loose with those, but I doubt they're going to give it to SMI. So I think Atlanta's out of the question on that one. They're not going to go to Talladega. They can barely keep 2 dates and get the place 3/4 of the way full for both. They're not gonna probably fill up any place other than a quarter-mile track like Bowman Gray. I guess they could do Homestead, but at that point, like, how many are actually gonna care to show up? It's a lot of travel just to go up back to North Carolina, then back down to Daytona. I feel like at this point, there are 3 realistic options. You stick it at Bowman Gray. This isn't an anomaly year, and you try and come back next year stronger. You go to Sao Paulo whenever they have their oval track ready and other stuff like that, and go or have a street race or whatever. You go to Brazil or you bring it back to Daytona. I'm okay with any of those 3. It's a non-points race. The identity of the Clash really went away in the middle of the 2010s. I actually recently watched the 2016 Clash, and it had decent enough racing, but it felt very lifeless. And then once they moved it to daytime, which at the time I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of what they used to do. Definitely is a better race if you're going to do it, to do it at night. I'd be okay with Daytona. Do it the Saturday night before the Super Bowl. If it gets rained out, just move it to Monday or Tuesday. You have those 2 open days in the week anyway. Talked about it in my Speed Weeks video. You'd be able to build up the Speed Week side of things in the Clash a little bit more. Maybe you bring back Busch Beer and you have the bottle opening for where you start out. Maybe make it pole winners. And if you have to have an expanded field, then maybe previous winners are eligible. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them going back there. This car races. I mean, it proved at Daytona and Atlanta. It races better in a super speedway package with less cars in the pack anyway. So it would probably be a better race than it was before. The Gen 6, the problem with the Gen 6 is they kept it single file so long in a lot of ways. And I mean, even in 2020, which 2020 before the carnage actually wasn't as terrible as I remember. I rewatched that one as well. But they kept it single file in a lot of those times because especially, like the way that the package was is basically like you could just go back and forth at the front. This is before they had the giant ass spoiler, because in other than 2020, of course. Before that, it was the previous super speedway one. They probably would have been definitely more single file with the 2020 package with the big giant ass spoiler and all that. I would be willing to give it a shot for a year or 2 before you get a better plan, but at this point too, like I said, I'm fine sticking at Bowman Gray for another year or 2. The fans seem to love it. The industry is pretty happy with it. There's been a lot more personal touch when it comes to fans and drivers and others. Like you're right there with them. Um, so I have no issues either way. The Clash is probably the least of my worries when it comes to things that could change with NASCAR. I don't think this year is going to be the norm. I don't think North Carolina is going to get hit with 7 to 13 inches of snow every single year on the Clash weekend. If it does, okay, then we'll talk about it more next year. Like, okay, like in 2 or 3, we're getting to a pattern. Um, it sucks and I get being pissed off, but at this point, like there's not really much else to do. For those asking, I see you in the chat asking about NWP. We will be live on Danny B's channel right after the Clash. That I believe is the plan right now. Um, as we go, unless anything changes. Yeah, I mean, it should be fine to do it right after the Clash. And it'll probably be a shorter show as well. So it'll be similar to what we do with Daytona 500 qualifying, I guess, if you want. Um, and yeah, this is true too. The cold icing up everything else too doesn't help. It was just for lack of a better way of saying it, it was the perfect storm. It was the perfect storm to knock out this event 3 days. Um, hopefully it's when they start it back up, it's above freezing. If there's any rain, again, they can maybe run rain tires. Uh, I'm actually a-okay with midweek races. I know that the ratings weren't great for it, but I want to see what this does. I'm very curious because I have a theory about midweek racing, and this could prove or disprove my theory. So my theory with midweek racing and why it didn't work in 2020, one was of course COVID, but two is all the midweek races were on FS1 and NBC Sports Network. And when you put them on backwater cable networks during the pandemic, when TikTok is booming and when Drive to Survive and Netflix and everything they're doing is booming up, and I mean, I saw it in my analytics on YouTube, the digital space blew up at that point. And so putting it on basic cable television on a weeknight was not going to be the best play. But things are different now. 2026 and 2020 are vastly different times. There's enough time with this move to have 3 days of promos. Again, not perfect, but 3 days of promos. So you have it promoted at least to be Wednesday, but it's on Big Fox instead of FS1. And, yes, the practice and qualifying are on Fox Sports 2. Let's be honest, it was never going to be a big deal to have practice and qualifying on Big Fox. That wasn't going to happen. But the LCQ and the main event are both going to be on Big Fox. If there is a comparable number to last year, if it's around, because what did last year get? Like 3.2 million or something like that. I usually have it, but I'm like, I don't know where I put my TV ratings packet, but I believe it's like 3.2 million or something. Where is it? 3.08 million. If there's anything even close to that, I would think that my theory of the Clash, or not Clash, of midweek racing being able to succeed if it were on a Big Fox, Big NBC, or in the future if it were on CBS and ABC, CW, wherever, on a channel that everybody gets on a primetime weeknight slot, I think that could work in the future. And while I believe it's kind of almost written into the current contract, you can't do midweek race and stuff like that, but it would be an interesting data point to say, like, hey, people have talked about condensing the schedule, but we don't want to get rid of races. What if we do a race during the week, or like a double header and do a Sunday, Monday kind of deal? I've always said I think a Richmond Sunday day race and then Monday night race would be really cool. That could be an option. in the future. I mean, the other part of it too, the 2012 Daytona 500. I know a long time ago, but if I'm not mistaken, the total audience for that race, while the average was lower because of the rain delay and the late finish and everything like that, that race had 36.5 million watching at some point during it, which was in a total audience, the second most watched Daytona 500 in history, behind the 2006 race, which was the most watched race in history in America. If I'm not mistaken, that is like the most watched race. Average audience might have been lower than some of the Indy 500s back in the day, but it had like 20 million average with like 50 million or something, or almost 50 million watching it part of the race at some point. So prime time in the middle of the week can work, I think, but I think it has to be on a big network that everybody gets. And if we see a big number this week, I think that's going to be really interesting as to what they can do with the schedule in the future and what the networks might want to do with scheduling. Or it can completely flop on its face. My theory is proved incorrect, or at least has been taken a huge hit, and we go back to the drawing board on it. But I just feel like it would be a fun thing to look at with it. So I'll leave a poll because I know you guys are talking about it. Where do you want the 2027 Clash? And I'll put Bowman Gray, Daytona, and other. So Bowman Gray, Daytona, other. Where do you want the 2027 Clash to be? Let me know. I'm A-okay with whatever you guys want. Like I said, I'm fine with pretty much anything. I'm just kind of going with the flow when it comes to the Clash. At least for the time being. Maybe something will change my mind on it. I'm trying to keep an idea of what you guys are saying. See, was already talking Fontana being dead. There's no official word on it, but it don't look good. That's for sure. I see. Let's see. I want it at the Rock. Let's see. Kern. That's an interesting one. How we doing? We doing good. We're doing good. Just got to wait a little longer for racing, unfortunately. Homestead. Kentucky Speedway. Based on the local reports and the way people were talking in the meetings that I was listening in on, that has more of a chance of being demolished at this point. Clash moved to Bristol. Bristol, if I'm not mistaken, is under like a few inches of ice or snow, unless it's melted since then. Maybe it moved through. Oh, that's a good one. Freedom Factory. I mean, that would be something. That would definitely be a way to get it out there to more people. That's for sure. New Smyrna, you probably need a lot more upgrades to that track. I've been there. Maybe it's changed since 2022. I doubt it. Let's see. Atlanta, give Atlanta's first point state to the Rock. So I will say, for the time being, as it is now, Atlanta will not be moved from the second date. It's super speedway racing is the easiest way to get to the masses. As long as Daytona doesn't get rained out, you have Daytona 500 with the biggest audience of the year, followed up with more of the same the next week with Atlanta, which will probably be a better race. Let's be honest. Atlanta is just the best super speedway in NASCAR right now. I don't see them moving that at any point. It doesn't make sense financially about it. You have the best shot of getting the biggest audience of the year with 2 super speedway races to open the year. Plus, you have the wild card too with the chase and points mattering more now. That it's like, oh my gosh, let's say, I don't know, Ross Chastain, finishes with like 2 total points after Speed Weeks in Atlanta. He's buried 38th in the point standings, and he's got to climb his way back up. Like, you got storylines built in with that. I don't see them changing Atlanta at any point, let alone for the Clash. If anything, they just add it for the Clash and then have a third Atlanta race. But they probably should do that for the All-Star race more than anything. Looking at the poll right now, it is not a dead set choice by you guys. Over 200 votes in of where you want the Clash. 42% saying Daytona, 31% saying Bowman Gray, 27% saying other. I get the other is split up among all these tracks we're talking about. Talladega, I see Talladega dirt track. Dirt track for a Clash, I think would actually be really interesting. I don't know if it would sell. I don't know if NASCAR would do it, but I would be interested in that. Um, it fit that confined kind of space and racing that the Coliseum and Bowman Gray have given us. Um, but yeah, it's wild. I mean, here's the thing. I'm seeing you guys talk about in the chat, and I might do a video on it. I see you guys kind of shifting a little bit here, talking about the Brian Vickers stuff. I went through and read all 112 things in the files that Vickers is in. There is some crazy stuff. That is for sure. Um, is bad. Is real bad. It don't look good for Mr. Vickers. That's for sure. Um, I want to again read through more of it just to be sure. Um, but just I see a good amount of you guys talking in there about it. What files? The only ones that have been making headlines lately. Um, that you know that I'm not gonna go too far into it just yet because again I'm going through. I went through them before, but I'm gonna double check through them more. It it's bad, man. There's a lot. I'll just say this: there's a lot of emails he sent to a JE, um, and I know there were other stuff like business dealings and stuff. It's just a lot of big checks in there. I will say this: if anyone is like when it comes to the Epstein files and stuff, there are other NASCAR names in it, but just because names are in there does not mean that they're involved. Like there's literally one of them that has Joe Gibbs in there, and the Joe Gibbs one is just like somebody saying like, "Oh yeah, we went to a Redskins game and Joe Gibbs was nice," and that's like all that was in there. Like it doesn't mean he's in there. There's a Jeff Gordon reference in there, and it was somebody saying, "Hey, have you seen this cool commercial with Jeff Gordon and Pepsi?" And it was like the Pepsi taxi driver one. So if somebody's name is in there, it doesn't mean that they're involved in anything. Like but you got to actually read what it says. Those two, not in there. There's some stuff about Michael Waltrip Racing and Aaron's not finding out about Vickers connection and Dollar General sponsorship issues with Vickers because of it. Like that's interesting. That's some stuff to look at and be like, okay, that raises some questions. But I'm letting you know, like, because I'm seeing you guys talk about it in there. I'm probably not going to I'm not going to go too far in detail on it much more until again I read through more of it. But the Vickers shit, it don't look good. But back to the Clash side of it. Let's get back to the racing part of it because let's be honest, I think we all want to have a little bit of fun and talk racing. You know, hey, there's not Wall Stadium, my home track. Let's see where else because the numbers haven't moved all that much other than Daytona has like a plurality right now. They got 43, 44, 42% at any given point. Clash at a Walmart parking lot. We're going back to our roots. Texas yeah. I will chat's moving quick. I will say that is true, Spencer. January flew by. And think about it like this with it too. Is you don't have to wait, at least with it being on a Wednesday night. You don't have to wait for racing for a week and a half. You just got to wait for a week for qualifying, and then it's speed weeks right there. Oh, Cody, too soon. Oh, let's see. I like the idea of Freedom Factory doing it, honestly. Like, and having Cletus be the host. Like, he could honestly be part of the TV side of it and like be, announcing stuff at the start and make it like a huge show. They'd have to definitely do some major upgrades. But if you're gonna do like something that feels kind of like a local short track feel or something like that, that would be really, really cool, honestly. Um Rockford on dirt. Rockford is dirt right now, unfortunately. That's the problem. Like, I'm looking to the left of me right now, and in my TV stand, I have pieces of the Rockford Speedway my dad got for me, because it's been demolished. It sucks, but White House lawn race. There's another race in DC going on. I gotta say this. As a NASCAR fan, I feel for my friends in IndyCar for being in the middle of the crazy politics and stuff like that. And we're not gonna talk about that side of it either, because again, we're here to have fun. But it's kind of nice to not be in the middle of a major shitstorm. Like, I will take what's happening with the Clash right here, like, all this right here, I will take over the crap IndyCar is gonna have to be going through for the next, like, 6 months or whatever it is. Um, I'll totally take that. I hope it turns out well, right? I hope it turns out well for them. I hope it's a banger. I hope they get a huge TV audience. I would bet they'll probably get 5 or 6 million people. It's gonna be high profile, all that stuff. Um, I'm just glad as a NASCAR fan and somebody who covers the sport, I don't have to navigate the landmine field that social media will be at that point. I am gonna sit back, watch my bland race at New Hampshire, and we'll see how it all plays out. That's for sure. You know, I am so glad that NASCAR's not in the middle of it, and I would bet NASCAR was approached about it. I think that's probably why New Hampshire was moved on that date. I bet it was considered. I'm just glad that we're not in the middle of it. If after all the crap and the back and forth and all the stuff 2020 brought us, I am a-okay not having to deal with that side of the internet, of social media, of any conversation again. I am a-okay with being out of the spotlight for that. Maybe, this is true. Rockford Speedway is a car wash that, like, nobody goes to. We can we all agree, like, these car washes that nobody goes to and, like, have pretty much been closed, like, can we all agree that's just a money laundering scheme? Like, if anyone who's watched Breaking Bad knows exactly what's going on there, especially in an area like the Rockford area, McChesney Park, like, I've lived there my whole life, like, nobody's gonna go there, and if they do, it's, like, maybe a little bit, but that just sucks about Rockford. Um Yeah, that is true. Naval base is really cool. I'll be honest, that is an awesome setup for a race. Like, I get the street race. Like, I was biased against Chicagoland, or Chicago, I should say, because of the Chicagoland deal and losing my track. At the end of the day, it worked out pretty well for the sport, in my opinion. Um, and I'd be cool seeing a race like in Denver or New York or wherever they want to take it. Houston, maybe. I don't know. Um, but doing one on a naval base, like, that's unique. That is legitimately a unique place to have an auto race. Um, I hope that the course is laid out pretty well. They've been planning it for a long time. So, it's not gonna be 6 months of planning and that's it, on the design or anything like that. Like, they do have a real concrete plan going in. But I like that it's a legitimately cool setting. Yeah, different cities have their landmarks and it's unique, but a naval base like that and having, like, aircraft carriers outside of the track in the water, um, it's gonna be one of the most unique NASCAR races we're ever gonna see. I mean, there'll be more street races, and they'll probably do one. I know Denver's the one that keeps coming up, or maybe Seattle. Um, that's come up. I don't know if LA is actually feasible, kind of like New York. Uh, but like there's something really cool about that. And it's sound, I mean, from the sound of it, it's probably gonna be a one-off when they go back to Mexico next year. For Mexico City. They couldn't because of the World Cup. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this year. If you haven't been able to tell, between a better championship format, between getting things we want like more horsepower and other things like that, schedule changes I like. My track is back. Um, I getting not having to talk about NASCAR this year. I am excited for 2026. And I'm not going to let this news put a damper on that. Yeah. Oh, will there be an NWP on Wednesday? Yeah. Yeah, we'll have one probably after the Clash. Um, More than likely, unless something changes. That should be the plan. We'll let you know if anything changes, but from the sound of it, looks like we're good to go on that. And it's probably gonna be a shorter episode anyway. Uh, you might have to wait a minute while I put in the finishing order so we can at least have the ticker going. But it'll be on Danny's channel, and it should be a lot of fun. We got new stuff added in for Danny and Eric's channels this year. Um, that'll kind of make it more uniform with the episodes that are normally on my channel. So, yeah, it is true. I am sad that the heats aren't happening. Um, it does suck. It does suck just because I do think last year they really maximized this event for a year one side of things. And with year two, I was really excited to see what they could build on it with. And it just felt like that momentum, there was momentum there. Because I remember before last year, it was like a 50-50 kind of deal. Like, oh no, Bowman Gray, really? We're going to the madhouse for the Clash. Like some of us, like I thought it was cool, but I also had my questions about it. Others were against it. And we're like, okay, well, open mind kind of thing. And it ended up, for the most part, people having a lot of fun with it. And I wanted to see what they could do this year with it. Um, Now, Noah, you are right about that. You are right. The LCQ was the real show last year, and that was probably the most fun part of the whole deal. And so we'll still have that. They'll still be on Fox, but man, I want to see it all. I've been without live racing since Phoenix, and we all know how that felt after the season. And we all know the feeling of 2025. So it's like it'd been a while since I'd been really anticipating racing on track, and then this happened. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people that feel the exact same way as I do right now about it. And yeah, it's true. Like it will still be on Fox. So that, and I don't know like what changes they're gonna have either, but hopefully Fox is at least somewhat better. Um, yeah, I'm gonna love Chicagoland too. Home track is back. I mean, hey, I might not live in Illinois anymore. I might not, live within 8 hours of it anymore. I know before I lived like 90 minutes away. I will be there. I will be there as much as I can. I think the only point I won't be there will be like Saturday night because I'll be with family after the O'Reilly race. But oh man, I'm just I'm not even mad. I'm not even upset. It's we're playing with house money from last year. That's the biggest thing with it all. Um, let's see. And yeah, duels are next Thursday. That's right. Yeah, I mean, so we're gonna be there. We're gonna have plenty of racing going on. So like it's right around the corner. It's just man, I can't wait. I can't wait. I I don't think I've been this excited for a season in a long time. And don't get me wrong, I don't think it's gonna be perfect by any means. Um, I don't think it's gonna be perfect at all. There's gonna be probably some glaring issues. Certain races are gonna be duds, whatever. But I gotta say, I think the last time I was this excited for a season where like I felt the excitement of other people with it too. Probably was when Junior was still racing. And I was excited as I was probably going in 2015 after the 2014 season was awesome. And Junior had this huge, great 4-win season. And I'm, like 2015, let's keep it going, baby. That season wasn't the greatest. But I don't think, you can't judge how a season in 2026 will be based on like how 2015 was. Um, I was excited going into like the next gen season for the intrigue and I was excited like when the racing came back in 2020. But I think like this is probably the most amped I've been in a while for a NASCAR season. And I can't wait, man. I'm hoping it lives up to it. Um, let's see. Do you think, and by the way, this is partly going to be a Q&A, so that was what it was meant to be until the news broke. Do you think Chicago will be as good as Kansas? Yes. Now I think it'll race a little differently. After all, at this point, they are differently configured. Um, you know, I and the age of the track especially is gonna be the big difference. I've been saying it for a while. If you wanted to see what this car can do with with old Atlanta, Chicagoland is your race to watch. This surface is 26 years old. It's worn out. It's got seams all over it. It's gonna be slick and eat up tires in the heat more than likely. Um, I think Chicagoland will be a hell of a race. And I don't say that just as I'm me being biased, having gone there for so long. The last race there was under the 550 package, and it was awesome. It was a great race on rewatch, and a lot of it was because of the track itself. Um, so fingers crossed. Again, who knows what can happen? But I think a weekend with O'Reilly and Cup there should be a really good on track weekend for a lot of people. I just wish it wasn't the 4th of July weekend, man, because I always go up there with family. So it's gonna make that a little more difficult. But I think we talked about it on NWP this past week that yeah, I mean, sounds like 3 of us would be there. I know there's a few other people who've talked about being there if confirmed. There's a lot of people that I've only known from Twitter DMs who are gonna be there, and I can't wait to meet in person. Uh, Sounds like it's gonna be a party. I know I'll be in the infield around behind the pits and around turn 1, but I'll be all over the infield during that weekend. I'll be outside the track at different points too. Um, if you see it, I'll say this, if you're there and you see me, feel free to come on up. Like, I can't wait. I wanna talk to as many people as possible. I wanna have the biggest damn party there. I want people to know why we need to keep this track more than just a year or 2 more. Um, will this affect the next episode of NWP? It'll be on Danny's channel. Should be right after the Clash or a little bit after the Clash, and, kinda like what we did after the Texas race in 2020 and, what we do after the Daytona 500 qualifying. So it's a it'll basically be back-to-back post on track or post-race streams. The post-race stream on this channel won't happen, but we'll be over at Danny's talking about it. So it'll be a post-race stream, in spirit in a lot of ways. So the first post-race stream will be the duels. That'll be interesting. Um, and it is what it is. I get it. That was the contingency plan if it moved that far anyway. Um, and it's fine. It happens. You can't get too mad at the weather, right? I mean, I've been nearly hit by a tornado and I don't hold it against the weather. Yes, Wednesday. It will be Wednesday, my dudes. um, Also, the Dale doc following the duels on FS1. So I don't know if it's unpopular or not. And I know I said this about the Dale documentary they did on Prime, and then they just, you know, blew my expectations out of the water. And I know it's a 25-year anniversary, but we kind of covered it enough at this point. I mean, I'm not saying like necessarily we had to completely move on. Like, I'm cool with like a silent lap 3 in his honor, and maybe like a segment or something before the 500. They have like a 2 or 3 hour pre-race show, but it's at this point like there's one every year. Like it's kind of the same thing being said. Some of them just completely reuse interviews from old ones. So I don't want to be like that pessimist about it. And if we learn new stuff, like then cool. Like you brought something new to the table, and I'm cool with hammer down in the chat too. Silent lap 16, all for that too. Um, but when it's every year, and it kind of feels like you're just kind of milking it for content. I That's just me though. I'll probably watch it just to see how it is. After all, like anything about Dale Earnhardt does intrigue me, which again probably makes me a huge hypocrite. And to be fair, too, Fox Sports does make some pretty good documentaries, so it's probably going to be well done. Having Mike Helton, I think, is a really good touch too. Frankie Muniz, I know that some have heard his side of things, but not everybody. So I hope they do him and the Earnhardt family justice with this. Um, I feel like after this year, it's been 25 years. Um, maybe we can do a documentary after the duels on some other drivers. I know it's probably unpopular. I saw at least on Twitter. I know Reddit is on my side, which I kind of worry about. Um, but I saw Twitter was way different. YouTube comment sections were way different. So hey, it might be pretty good. I'll give it a shot. But wait, when I saw it, the first thing I thought in my head was, "Damn, Fox, way to set the mood." "Hey, are you happy racing's back? The duels with all this like high intrigue and drama. Okay, you know what we're gonna do next? We're gonna keep those spirits high, everybody. Let's go back to 2001." That's the first thing that came to my head. I'm like, I'm gonna be pumped up about the duels and about the bubble battle and all of these really good drivers that could make or miss the Daytona 500. You got the JRM side of it, year two. Yeah, it might not have the hype of year one, but still it's hype. Like JRM's going to be trying to make it in. And then like right after, we're going to go into talking about the biggest tragedy the sport has had in like the last 25, 30, 40 years, and Fox really knows how to set a mood. That's for sure. But it could be good. It could. I hope it is. Yeah, that's exactly. Hell yeah, racing's back. Remember February 18th, 2001? Like that's kind of how it felt when I saw it. And I don't mean like to laugh, like to be callous about it. Just like, damn, Fox. Like, couldn't have done any other time. You let's see. Ram race for the seat has been entertaining. Yeah, I kind of knew what it was going to be going into that as well. But I'll give this to Ram. I will say this about Ram. There's a lot of controversy around them, but they're doing better than Chevy, Toyota, and Ford when it comes to getting people talking. Now, I don't know if all publicity is good, even if it's bad. I don't know if that's maybe the truth at this point, especially when you're jumping on into the sport again. But I'll give them credit. We're all talking about them. And now with Tony Stewart jumping in, now Kevin Harvick has even talked about like, well, maybe I should jump into some races at this point. Like they're doing a good job of getting people talking. The thing is, like, once we get to that truck race, not this Friday, but next, they got to start doing the walking at that point. Like they got to start backing it up. You can only have so much hype, so much rah rah USA, so much crazy, headlines and stuff like that. You can only have so much of that before finally you got to shut up and prove it. And I hope they can. There's definitely a lot of money being put into it. The truck series is a perfect entry point, I would say, when it comes to a new OEM, just because they don't really have to do much. So there is that. But like they've done a lot of talking, man. They've done a lot of talking. And to be honest, that whole brand is not exactly financially doing well right now. So I hope this isn't just like a flash in the pan blip for like 5 to 8 years. I hope that this is a long lasting partnership. NASCAR can build on, they can build on competition. Hopefully, you would think would get better. Hopefully, that's what I'm hoping. That's really what I'm hoping at this point. But I'll tell you, they have caught our attention. That is for sure. All I saw on for like 3 days, all I saw on Reddit and YouTube comments and Twitter was just, man, look what Chris Rice said here. Man, look at what they're doing here. Oh, this is BS. But it's like, hey, they're trending on all these social media platforms. They're getting all of us YouTubers talking about them and other people on the digital side of it. Like, I'm not saying that the other three have to do something like it, but it would probably help to do a little more like it. Let's see. I do agree with you, Spencer. I think YouTube comments nowadays are so much more chill than Twitter. And then you go on Instagram and it's the wild, wild west, man. I honestly I don't open my Instagram feed in public because there's some random wacky shit that probably will pop up every time I do. Um, Twitter Twitter's just a Twitter's just the outrage hub at this point. YouTube comments up until about 10 years ago were wild, and then they basically cleaned it up a lot. There's a lot of controversy with that, but I don't know, when I see, like, your comment or you guys in the comment section or in the chat, I see, like, the comments on Eric's videos or, like, Break Hard or Ellie or Slap, like, it's for the most part, it's pretty level-headed and chill, um, at least for social media standards. There's some of you guys that I read your comments, I'm just like, "Whoo, kiss your mother with that mouth?" Um, let's see what else we got too. Yeah, it definitely I would agree, it is a bummer to start the year like this. As much as, you know, it's the best case scenario with a bad setting, it still sucks. Yeah, Reddit can be something else. It's a good aggregator, and I will say some of the comments there are really good. I actually wanted to bring up a Reddit post, while I'm thinking about it, because I wanted to give this guy credit. He brought up something really, really good, and I think it deserves being pointed out as much as possible. If it didn't get taken down. A lot of the good ones get taken down for some reason. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? All right, it's from user the image works, who said, "My number one takeaway from the from Winston-Salem this week isn't what's happening outside with the snow, but what's happening inside with the fans." And he brings up what's been going on. He said, "But there's a beef plot that's been unfolding indoors a short distance away that's really worth talking about and spotlighting. During the Winston era, NASCAR used to hold an indoors Winston Cup preview fan event in Winston-Salem at the Coliseum. The new cars for the season would be staged, and there'd be driver meet and greets and events, merch sales, you name it. It was cheap family fun and a chance to see a hell of a lot of race cars up close and in person." And bringing up the marketing and that Winston exec T. Wayne Robertson had done, and they had done a great job at marketing. There's a reason this is still popular for a lot of people. They did it again on a much smaller and low-key scale for the Clash for the first time in decades, even with most of the outdoor stuff canceled, and the reviews from fans, drivers, and NASCAR media has been overwhelmingly positive. Fans are getting closer to the cars than they have in years. Drivers are actually getting to talk to fans outside of the stress and schedule demands of a race weekend and vice versa, and fans are meeting each other, you name it. Again, this is from the Image Works on Reddit, who I think did a great job pointing this out. Um, and brings up, treat fans with respect, open it up to them, hold events where they are, and make drivers accessible, and actually show how much of a professional effort and feat of mechanical engineering a race team is, instead of the insult to the intelligence that modern era race coverage on TV sometimes feels like. This is all most fans who've been around for years have ever wanted to see happen again. It's what older fans and drivers wish they'd never stop doing. And in interview after interview, the younger drivers are like, this was really cool. We should do more of this. Yeah, the race at Bowman Gray has been a cluster due to the snow, but indoors, a short distance away, something far more interesting for the long-term health of the sport, if they'll lean into it, is transpiring. This is the kind of thing that was commonplace in the sport's decades of growth. And if NASCAR really wants to rebound, it's worth paying attention to. This, to me, 100% true. Absolutely love it. I think he's spot on with this. And I agree. Like, even if the Clash moves, do this still. Do this, make a big deal, get people out in person. And it's not just that. Is I've noticed in my time as being a fan that there had been that retraction of access for fans, whether it was show cars, whether it was driver appearances, things like that. And they're doing more of that. Like any Bass Pro Shops, anywhere near a racetrack, you're getting Austin Dillon, you're getting Chase Briscoe. Hi, Minnieberg. Minnieberg just got up from her nap, and she looks tired. Um, I just, every time she gets up, I always got to say hi. But back to what I was saying. Um, when it comes to accessibility, when it comes to getting out there and talking to the fans and being out there with the fans and giving them an opportunity to be there and do something different that's out of the ordinary. And one of the things that pops up into my head is back when NASCAR was bigger, there would be show cars around my hometown in Machesney Park, Illinois, which is right north of Rockford and around there. And one of the really, really cool things was there would always be at least one a year, whether it was like the Tide Ride, David Reagan's AAA car, or one year I remember, like right next to, like, kitty corner away, basically from where I lived, cross a road and walk a quarter mile, and there's Jamie McMurray's car that I got to see, and they passed out like quality die-casts like this. You could buy die-casts from them, and they stopped doing that around the time the COT came out. And it was a shame because I always look forward to it. And the reason I remember the McMurray one is because I went there the Wednesday night before my first year at Chicagoland in 2007. And I say that because I went there Thursday through Sunday that weekend, camping in the infield, and I lived 90 to 100 miles away from the track, and they were doing it there. My dad one year took us out around Joliet, and supermarkets had Schrader's car and other cars like that, and I got to see a Dale Jr. show car up close. I still have and it was 2006. I still have the packets they sent out, like the little pieces of like posters and stuff like that. I want to see more of that. I want to see it far away from the track too. Like, I want to go down the road to my local Publix and see a show car of like Noah Gragson. Because a lot of times too, the drivers every now and then would show up to him and do signings and other things like that. I want to see more of that. I want to see that accessibility. And I really like that they're doing that in Winston-Salem. I hope that they see what a difference that makes. I think people vastly underestimate the ability of marketing through word of mouth because social media is so easy to get a message across to hundreds, thousands, millions of people, depending on what goes viral. And we see it. And like a Hail Melon, right? 100 million people saw that in like 4 days. What effect did that have? What effect did the Hail Melon really have on how many people are watching and interested in the sport today? How many people are talking about the sport today? I would argue, honestly, that NASCAR going to Le Mans was a bigger deal than the Hail Melon was. It didn't have as much fanfare. So, again, one by one, brick by brick, build up the fan base again. Get kids involved with it. Where that was the coolest thing for me. I was 8 years old and my dad took me and I got to stand right there and touch what I thought was like, I didn't know the concept of show cars at the time. I had to touch a Dale Jr. car and it was the coolest thing. I was grinning ear to ear for like a week after that. Like, that makes a difference. And when you have the drivers out there and the fans can meet them, it makes a difference. And yeah, you might only meet, I don't know, 80 to 100, but those 80 to 100 build up. And then when they get their friends into it, well, hey, you want to meet a driver? Chase Briscoe is going to be doing a signing at the Bass Pro Shops this week, you know. Again, and I know like not everyone has the luxury of being around a racetrack, like I do, but it's still, those are the things that the at the end of the boom period, NASCAR left behind. And I know they still do it at different places closer to. I know it's not like they just completely stopped doing it, but they did it at a wider scale. After 2007, there was only once there was a show car out in Rockford, and it was at the opening of like a Jiffy Lube or something, or like it just opened recently. And they brought a Tony Stewart car that was just sitting there next to the street. I can't remember which street it was. I don't know if it was. I don't remember which street it was. It's been a minute. But they had a number 14 Mobile One Tony Stewart car in 2014, I want to say. Um, might have been 15 or 13. I don't remember the exact year. Um, and I just remember my dad like driving a different way when he picked me up from school because I think I was like, I don't know if I was able to drive or if like my car was getting repaired. I don't remember. I don't remember all the details, but he picked me up and we took a different way home. And I was like, why are we going the long way home? Like, we never go this way. And I saw that, got my picture taken in front of it. And again, I was telling everyone about it at school the next Monday because it was a Friday. They had like an iRacing set up there, and you could drive Tony Stewart's car on iRacing at Indianapolis that week, even though I don't think they were racing there. Um, that's cool. That's cool. That's really awesome. And heck, there were people that were showing up, and I remember asking this one person that was there with his kids, and like, you guys watched? And they're like, no, but we thought the race car was cool. That right there. NASCAR race cars are cool, man. The next gen, for all its faults, looks really damn cool. It looks really good. You can't deny that. I mean, this car, it looks cool. It looks mean. It looks like something that people would want to go and see. And God, I got the really quality version of this thing, and it's freaking heavy, man. So I hope they do more of that. Like, I hope that this is like a wake-up call. Like, this is what we can do. IndyCar's been nailing it out of the park doing this. Say what you want about IndyCar and everything else. Their drivers and their marketing when it comes to getting out and talking to people and being just accessible people is awesome. They've done a great job, and I think NASCAR can learn from that. And I'm trying to say it not as like a critique, but it's like positive criticism on this, like, and trying to reinforce what that Redditor was saying. He's 100% correct. I love how all this, me ranting about this in the nicest way possible spawned from somebody criticizing Reddit. And then I was like, no, they brought up like actually one of the best points that you possibly could have. That's for sure. Let's see. I'm gonna end the poll. We're sitting at around 50% wanting Daytona back. So as it's come in. Um, ooh, that's a hot take. Gen 7 looks better than the Gen 4, probably unpopular. That's a hot take. I respect it though. I respect as somebody who gives hot takes every week, I respect that. I disagree personally, but I respect it 100%. I personally think, let me see if I got it. I got it here. I will say I personally think my favorite looking NASCAR race car would be 2006 and 2007 Monte Carlo SS's. I think the headlights look awesome. I think the nose is a little lower to the ground at that point, and they just look mean too. And they're fast. They were squatted down. They looked fast. I have an entire line of like really high quality diecast behind me, so I'm just like picking and choosing them. Now I will say, I gotta dust these things, man. I will say, while I don't like the wing and splitter COTs, I do absolutely love these ones. The 2011 and 2012 COTs I thought looked beautiful. And it's a damn shame that we had to change the car right off the bat once they actually got them looking good. I will say, and I know a lot of people have nostalgia for the wing, and I get it. This is what the COT should have looked like from the start. If it looked like that from the start, it would have been much more palatable. I mean, these don't look exactly the same. I'm going to move the schedule, by the way, since we've been doing it for an hour. I feel like at this point you probably should know. There we are. I will say these don't look necessarily like up close similar, but they look similar enough that it would have been much more palatable in 2007 if you went from this to this. It would have been a lot more palatable. I think the backlash would have been a lot more subdued. Now I don't know if this is a hot take either, but I'm willing to go out on the limb because I know a lot of people disagree with this. I don't know if it's the majority though. I think this version of the Gen 6 looks way better than the Camaro version of the Gen 6. I think it looks like a better race car, honestly. I know I think it's a hot take, but I'm not sure if it actually is. I don't pay attention that much to these kind of arguments. I will fully admit. Um, I'm seeing most saying agree, so it's probably not a hot take. It's probably a lukewarm take at best, if not like yeah, no duh take. Um, but yeah, I I think it looks better. I will say too, um, at least in diecast form, the next gen looks so damn similar to the Gen 6. Like I know that this might not be perfect and they definitely look different, but like outside the number being moved, if I showed the common person these two cars, they're not really going to tell that much of a difference. Like they're really not. This one's like a little bulkier, but I won't. I'll say this: I don't think the Camaro looks bad with the Gen 6. I still thought it looked good. Um, honestly, as I move these back, honestly, it's really hard to make a NASCAR race car look bad. I I I I I don't think the wing COT necessarily looks that bad. It's just kind of goofy to me. It's not my cup of tea, but it doesn't look terrible, especially like around 2008, late 2008, and then 2009 when they got the schemes actually looking good. Um, you know, let's see. Do you think the COT was necessary, or do you think they could have kept the Gen 4? I think the COT was necessary. I know people, especially older fans, don't agree with me on that. Um, but just safety wise, I mean, after what happened with Earnhardt and some of the injuries we were seeing at the time too with the Gen 4, you could have implemented some of those changes in, um, but you couldn't have done all of them. Not safely, and the racing would have I mean, the original version of the COT was supposed to be a beefed up Gen 4 car, and aerodynamically, it raced so horribly, they could not actually get it to go full speed. Um, so that's why they changed it up a bit, and then they just went buck wild with it with the damn wing and the splitter with the braces and stuff like that. But I really do think it was necessary between making the car wider, between making the greenhouse of the car taller. I mean, if you look 2007 Daytona 500, you watch the in-car of Kevin Harvick, his head, and if I'm not mistaken, Kevin Harvick is not like a tall guy either. He's not a massive human being by any means. Um, God, he's probably like what, 6 foot, maybe a little shorter. 5'10. At least that's what Google says. He's 5'10. And his head is like crunched up to the top of that car. Michael Waltrip is basically crunched in doing like a dead bug in the car. Um, the amount of space you see the driver has now to the side and top of the car was not in place with the Gen 4 and could probably not have been put in there safely. Um, it would have cost, and it probably would have cost about as much as getting the COT set up. I don't agree with them making it like, more of a spec car. I'm still like, that's the big thing I'm not crazy about with the next gen, especially. I don't like that. There were some changes I don't think were necessary, but overall, I do think it was a positive just because I will take drivers being uninjured more often than, you know, great racing, but drivers dying. Um, and I think that the COT and the advancement since then have done a lot more good on that department than bad that they have. Um, Yeah, I mean, I actually have this saved. It's from the pre-race of the Watkins Glen 2004 race. If you want to see what the original COT looked like, and I think it was actually a Pontiac, if I'm not mistaken, might have been a Dodge. Um, I mean, it looks like a super speedway Gen 4 car, like with the flat nose and all of that. But it was different still. I'm gonna do a video about that pretty soon. Uh, more asking, thoughts on Brian Vickers, not so good news. I kind of talked about it earlier. And I'm probably going to address it more. I'll probably look into it because I read through the files and it's bad. Um, disgusting. Uh, if he's that connected, but we kind of all kind of thought that already. It's just now we have it confirmed. Let's see. I'm looking up one of them because I'm gonna yeah. Where's it at? Hocevar, probably the tallest driver right now. I mean, he's 6'4". And then what was Mikey? Wasn't he like 6'5"? Yeah. I think Mikey might have been the tallest NASCAR driver ever. Which the poor guy racing in the Gen 4 era. Again, like I said, it looked like he was doing a dead bug sit up inside the car seated. He's just like this the whole time. Um, the roof hatch was necessary. uh, that's right. I don't know if it's snowing now, but it was snowing in Daytona. Like it was snowing in Daytona. What is the weather in Daytona right now? Daytona right now is 44 degrees. Damn. But it's sunny. Hey, I'll take 44. And I say damn because like Florida standards. Um, like 44 though for Daytona State. I'll take it though. All right, here it's below 30 and it's been the warmest day in a while. Um, I feel bad. We'll get some of the super chats too. I've been trying to keep track of the chat on top of super chats. Alex says, "Whose Valvoline scheme do you like better this year, Larson or Byron?" I prefer Byron's myself. Reminds me of the Mark Martin swoosh scheme from '97. I gotta double check just to be sure. But I will let you know in a moment. Let's see if I can type. Uh, Come on, pop up for me. Ooh. They both look pretty damn good. I I'll probably go with you on that one. I'm gonna go Byron, but I think it's close. I think they're really good. Looks like I have to go with the 2025 Clash starting lineup and post results for the Rebirth series. There's no way I can do the 2026 edition due to my work schedule. Disappointing. I'm sorry to hear that, Josh. Um, Jeffrey King saying this is nuts. We're covering like everything from earlier. For 27 beyond, I respectfully request that NASCAR return the Clash at Daytona as a backup option at the very least. This way, something like this doesn't happen again. I feel like if you're going to choose something, you might as well just choose it and go. Jeffrey saying Daytona, make a short track in the front stretch and do it there in 27. Yeah, you could. I mean, they paved so much out of 4 and into 1 that you could probably do a short track race there. I know the Battle of the Beach, everyone's talking about doing the backstretch again, but there's no seats back there anymore. It's just billboards. So maybe you could get some temporary seats like in the corners or maybe like on one side. But if you want more people to be able to see it, you might as well do it in front of the main grandstand. Josh left another one saying, hopefully the rest of the season won't be quite this screwed up and I can get my starting lineup / post-race videos up in a reasonable amount of time. I don't think it'll be this nutty the rest of the year, but it's been pretty crazy. Jeffrey, you left a lot of them. Thank you. Please, can we have a sunny Daytona 500, Coke 600 without delays? So I get it's 2 weeks out, but I did look at the 3-week forecast that AccuWeather has. I know they're not perfect. The one day they have rain is Daytona. But luckily, it says it's in the morning and it's 2 weeks out, so plenty can change. Knock on wood. I want to see a sunny Daytona 500 again. I want to see a sunny Daytona 500 that finishes in the golden hour, and we can just enjoy it. I don't want a dreary, cloudy Daytona 500 again. I don't want a Daytona 500 at night. I want a classic sunny Daytona 500 with some pretty good racing. But knock on wood, right? See, this year's Clash format with the heats and all would cook at Daytona or Atlanta. I would be interested to see a short track style approach to like a super speedway non-points race. I think that would actually be really interesting. Vickers had some news come out. We talked about a little bit. Again, I'm gonna look more into it I might make a video on it. Just, serious subject matter. Make sure you do it right. Cody says, we have the snow. Let's do snow cross in the infield between the LCQ and feature. My Polaris is ready. Is race ready. I'd be down. That'd be pretty damn cool. I mean, I know that some of the drivers like, can we just drive our pickup trucks out there? They can drive in the snow. Justin says, damn, and I was looking forward to swapping back and forth with the Stadium Series game and the race today. Well, it wasn't going to be today no matter what. It was going to be Monday, but it is Wednesday, my dudes. Austin, how we doing, Jarrett? Doing good. Much love. Not trying to get you in trouble or anything, but I'd love your comments on the Brian Vickers news. It's just tragic. Like I said before, it's gross, terrible. I'm just, the more I read about it, the more I'm like, there is no way that he's innocent. But that's my own approach to it. That's my opinion. Innocent to proven guilty, but might not have too much else that they need to prove. Downtown Rockford. Yeah. That'll be good. Avoid getting shot. Yeah. Call it the Glockford 250. How about that? I say this as somebody that lived in the area and hung out with friends around Rockford. So I think I can get away with saying that. I know everyone got mad when people said it about Chicago, but I think I can say it about Rockganistan. Austin, what about the Memphis track that's getting revamped? That'll be a while, probably. Lars, so remember when Junior caused the big one with a black box? When Junior in 2009 caused the big one by crashing redacted, except he wasn't redacted. That was for sure. I know it won't happen, but if we build a new track, I'd love to have one built in Mississippi. Fans in the Gulf have no track. It would draw people. That's the thing is like there's been sort of that dead zone. It's like a food desert, right? For NASCAR fans. And you'd think like that area of the country, you should have some. But for some reason, like I said, it's kind of a dead zone. I don't know why. Let's see. West Virginia says, still praying that after San Diego, we get Fontana back, similar to how Chicago Street and Chicagoland switched. But us our SoCal NASCAR fans get to suffer. I think you're probably going to suffer more because I know at least maybe stuff will change. One of the big things that was talked about was switching it back with Mexico because it's relatively close. Not really, but relatively. You guys deserve to have dates on the schedule, and it's a shame that you guys don't. I just wish they would give us an answer on Fontana. We kind of all know the direction it's going in, but until it's confirmed, until they either demolish it or build a short track, like it's going to constantly be this giant, just like glowing red sign in the background the whole time. I know, and I say it's already demolished. No, I'm talking like everything about it. They still have kept the part of the track they say they're going to rebuild it with. But most of it is. Yeah, Phelps said in the trial he hopes eventually a short track will be built there. That's the thing. It's in limbo the whole damn time. That's the thing that sucks about it. Let's see. Justin saying playing NASCAR 05 at Dodge Raceway Stadium today to cover for the terrible weather at Bowman Gray. Nice. Thanks for being a new member. I know you're watching. I see you texting me. I'll answer back once I get done. NASCAR needs to drop Fox as an option when negotiating a new TV deal. They've shown they care more about IndyCar than NASCAR, which makes no sense. Well, I mean, they bought into it. So, like, buy low, maybe sell high one day. But I mean, I get it. IndyCar should, by all accounts, be a series that should grow. Like, it's good racing, really good characters and drivers that you can really attach to. They go all over the country to different places for the most part. They need the East Coast definitely more. Very talented drivers. They have the biggest race in the world. By all accounts, IndyCar should build back up by now. So I get why that they had it. I mean, just it does make sense to me. Walter Cooler says just cancel the race at this point. Contracts say no. Uh, Austin saying we've milked Dale Senior's death for so much content. Like I said, with the new thing, it's starting to feel that way. To y'all who thought I was bad, Winter Bolt's worse. That's right. I saw you talking about that on Wednesday. Let's see. In my opinion, the Clash needs to go back to the week before the Daytona 500. Imagine being the week before, uh, instead of being the week before the Super Bowl. I know I read that wrong. Yeah, I'd be down with the Clash being Saturday night before the Super Bowl, just because it's kind of a dead zone. No other sports do stuff. I mean, honestly, early in the day of the Super Bowl, there is the opening. Like, if you can fit a race or an event between the Super Bowl and the Puppy Bowl, you'll probably get the most amount of people, you know? There was also the Purple Crown Royal car McMurray at Schnucks on Alpine and Loves Park, and the Stewart. That's right, Tony Stewart's car. Yeah, that's right. It was on Alpine and Riverside. Okay. Yeah, so that's where it was. For anyone who wants to look up where they were at. Um, let's see. Hot take. I think the 2024 to present Camry looks better on the next gen than the 2022 to 2023 Camry. The old Camry looked better on the Gen 6. I agree. And you know what? I have Bell's car too. I like the hammerhead design with the hammerhead lights up here. I like this design. I think it looks really good as well. Now I can put these back up. Jeez. Let's see. Why does Fox have the luxury to show a weather delayed race on Big Fox the next day, but NBC can't? It's just choice. It's choice by him. Any thoughts about Reddick leaving 2311 and shaking up free agency? If I'm Penske or Hendrick, I would consider him. With Tim Cindric back at Penske, I doubt that Austin's going to be gone. Even if the performance doesn't justify him being in the two. Tyler Reddick makes sense to me at Hendrick. Like, he would be, to me, the thing with, and I brought it up before the show, or before we were live, I should say. To me, the thing with Alex Bowman and whether or not he stays, it almost isn't necessarily having to do with Bowman. I think it has more to do, is there somebody who would be better right now? Right? Would there be a free agent out there before we heard about Reddick? Like, take Reddick out of it. What free agent out there would we know for sure would outperform Alex Bowman at this point? I know people brought up Kyle Busch. But Kyle Busch ain't getting younger, right? I mean, it's true. It is. I mean, he's going to be what? Like 41 this year. So he's not getting younger. I still think he has a little left in the tank, but I think they're more even than people would like to admit. But Tyler Reddick in a Hendrick car, Tyler Reddick in a Hendrick car would be a noticeable upgrade from Alex Bowman. Thing is, I don't know if he's leaving. We don't know that yet. We've heard about it, but until we get an actual concrete report that, like, hey, there's some turmoil, unhappy, big kind of deal, it's all reckless speculation at that point. And so to me, like, that would be the only one that would be an improvement to me. I mean, he had a down year last year and he still was pretty damn good, even with everything going on with him and his family off the track. That's the only one I can think of that I would think would be a noticeable improvement. And Bowman's not a bad driver. Last year, he was a borderline top 10 driver, if not in the top 10 in points. And we'll probably see more this year. And then the narrative of which fans will probably change, which, again, is why I think the playoffs are a terrible way to show who's been good during the year, because they shuffle stuff up and there's so much chaos and stuff that if you get eliminated in the round of 16 because you run 15th to 10th every week and you have a bad race or two or something, than somebody who runs 20th, but got a little hot and they make it a little further, people are gonna be like, well, they had a better year. Well, no, they didn't. They had a better 3 races. Now at least we're having a little bit more, um, we're having a little bit more accuracy to who's actually good with the new 2026 chase. Um, so yeah, Zilich to HMS would be interesting. But I think Hendrick would have to buy out his contract and Zilich would want to move too. Uh, I just I'm really hope there's so many moves that could happen. I'm really hoping this year in silly season isn't a huge dud. Like I'd be kind of pissed if like Reddick, Bowman, Bush, um, Cindric, a few others like that. I'd be really bummed if none of them moved and it was just a couple of small moves. If anything, like my prediction, at least for Kyle Busch, is he's going to be in the 7 in 27. That's where I think he'll end up. Uh, unless like something happens at Gibbs and he takes like a massive pay cut and brings sponsorship. Um, it'd be cool to have a reunion there for sure. But I think he ends up replacing Suarez. I don't think Suarez lasts long. Suarez has never in Cup improved on where his equipment should be. And I don't see why that would start at Spire. I think his teammates are going to outperform him. NHL players return to the Olympics. Who's winning? I don't know. I haven't watched the last time I watched the Olympics more than like a cursory view was like when Michael Phelps won in 2008 or 12. I've never cared about the Olympics really. Like every now and then. But even though ESPN was bad from 07 to 14, at least they put all 10 chase races on ABC, something NBC needs to do. They advertise more. They did that from 07 to 09. Then they put 9 of the 10 on ESPN after that, though, in a shakeups and stuff. So, or Bush to Colleague. That would be an interesting one with the Dodge connection. But if Dodge isn't there in 27, like Kyle Busch is going to go into his age 43 season. And I don't know if that's the guy you want leading the charge. But yeah. I wanted to just do this as a fun Q&A, and we were supposed to start it only like 30 minutes ago, but with everything going on, and last little bit before we head out, this is the schedule. The practice and qualifying on FS2, rest of it on Big Fox. Wednesday night, if you're coming in here late, just want to remind you all. Then the game plan is that we do NWP afterwards. So no post race more than likely on this channel unless we have to change the date of the podcast for some reason. But that is the plan. Regardless, you'll see me after the race. So there is that. Oh, well, yeah, watch it change again. Yeah. But that should do it. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, everybody. I will see you through the week, and we'll go from there. So till then, have a good one. Later, y'all.